guests, listeners, and hosts of any program on WURD Radio do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls. Wake up the word and Solomon Jones. Word. You better wake up now.
You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can feel it.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls. Wake up the word and Solomon Jones. Word. You better wake up now.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Wake Up with WURD. So it's been interesting, man. We are, of course, officially in the presidential transition, and President-elect Joe Biden says his transition teams have encountered obstruction, surprise, surprise, from President Trump's political leadership at the Defense Department and the Office of Management and Budget. And the president-elect charges that many of the agencies that are critical to our security have incurred enormous damage during the Trump administration. Speaking after he and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris took part in a virtual briefing with members of their national security and foreign policy teams, Biden also took aim at Trump's go-it-alone approach to international affairs and pledged to restore American leadership across the globe. But you know what? I'd settle for a little leadership at home. I'm tired of seeing people die from COVID, tired of seeing people desperate for food, tired of knowing that the rest of the world is watching America and wondering what's wrong with us. We need leadership in this country. Maybe then we can finally be great. We got a hot show for you today on Wake Up with WURD. CNN commentator Roxanne Jones tries to make sense of our dumpster fire year. Board-certified physicians Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw have the latest on COVID-19. Plus, film critic Tim Gordon on Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Spike Lee's American Skin, and the best black films premiering in 2021. And as always, we've got you, our listeners, calling in at 215-634-8065 or toll free 1-866-361-0900. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at onWURD, or you can hit me personally at Solomon Jones 1. Watch us on Facebook at forward. But first, it's the big three, the news stories you need to know to kick off your day right here on Wake Up with WURD. Story number one. Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner said Monday that his office is reviewing body cam footage from the two officers who fatally shot a Kensington man early Christmas morning. But he said he has asked Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw not to release the video because the investigation is not yet complete. In a statement, Krasner said his office and the police department were awaiting forensics evidence that could help resolve conflicting reports on the incident, which witnesses and relatives said began as a Christmas Eve dispute over a parking spot, but devolved into a chaotic street fight. Police on Monday identified the officers who responded to the scene. They are Timothy Strano, 39, a 6-year veteran, and Leggy Thompson, 45, who spent 9 months on the job. While Strano and Thompson arrived at the 3300 block of Emerald Street around 12:30 a.m., police said they found a large crowd gathered on the sidewalk and street with people yelling and throwing punches. As the fight escalated, police said 43-year-old Jesus Perez pulled a gun from his waistband and fired shots into the crowd. Strano and Thompson then fired back at Perez, striking him in the body. He was taken to Temple University Hospital and declared dead. Police have said they believe that Perez's shots, allegedly fired from a handgun reported stolen in Virginia, killed his 15-year-old son, Jeremy, and wounded his 17-year-old nephew, identified by relatives as Giovanni Capulin. And so this is what happened. So the family said, look, he would never do that. He didn't shoot like that. He didn't kill his own son. He wouldn't do that. He loved his son. He loved his nephew. But some of the man's relatives have now seen the body cam footage, and they said they wanted to take back what they had previously said about the incident. So that incident still under investigation. We are watching carefully to see what happens with that. and we will keep you posted as to the results. Story number 2, the House of Representatives on Monday not only overrode the president's veto on the defense bill, they also passed a measure to increase stimulus checks for Americans under a certain income level to $2,000. Now, that's after the president championed the effort, saying that, look, you know, we need to have $2,000 checks. House Democrats was like, say less. We already wanted $2,000 checks, so I tell you what, we're going to try to pass this. It failed because they tried to pass it by using something called unanimous consent, where everybody had to consent to it. Only one person had to say, nah, we don't want that. So, of course, Republicans were like, nah, we don't want people to have more money. So it failed when they did it that way. They went back and did it another way yesterday, and it passed. And so now it's on Republicans in the Senate to say, no, we don't want people to have $2,000 checks. I can't wait to see it. Get your popcorn ready, because if they say that, here's what happens. People are like, hold up. What do you mean you don't want us to have $2,000? Why are you voting against that? That's for everybody. That's for every American, right, to get $2,000. What do you mean you don't want us to have that? Maybe we should rethink our support of Republicans. And it's a beautiful thing to see what they will do. Because if they love the people, if they care about the people, if they care about their own constituents, they'll vote to have that thing raised to $2,000. But if they don't, then that means January 5th in Georgia, maybe people need to take a closer look at John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, the Democrats running for Senate in Georgia. Maybe we need more Democrats in the Senate if the Republicans feel like people shouldn't have $2,000. It's a trap vote, right? We're going to force you to vote on this issue. And it is going to be so interesting to watch what they do, because really, Republicans really only want, rich people to have money. Everybody else who's asking for money from the government, somehow they're asking for a handout. Yet, they can hand out billions of dollars to corporations every single year. Don't get fooled by the whole welfare message. The people getting the most welfare are people who have big corporations, people who have big companies, people who already have money. They're the one getting the most from the government. The government subsidizes companies that make planes, man. And they can't give us $2,000? I cannot wait. I got my popcorn ready. I want to see what happens with this. And that brings me to story number 3. Adam Coy, the Columbus, Ohio police officer who shot and killed Andre Hill, has been fired, according to a statement from Columbus Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. Coy's termination follows a disciplinary hearing held yesterday. The local chapter of the FOP represented Coy at the hearing. The information, evidence, and representations made by Chief Quinlan, as the investigators, are, in my opinion, indisputable. His disciplinary recommendation is well supported and appropriate, Pettis said. The actions of Adam Coy do not live up to the oath of a Columbus police officer or the standards we and the community demand of our officers. Now, you'll remember this incident because we talked about it last week. The man who was shot is named Andre Hill. He was black. Coy, a white police officer. Coy fatally shot him last Tuesday within seconds of their encounter as Hill walked toward Coy holding an illuminated cell phone in his left hand. Body camera footage released last week shows Hill was unarmed. Quinlan had recommended firing Coy. Quinlan said in a statement Monday that the evidence against Coy provided solid rationale for termination. This is what accountability looks like, Quinn said, adding that Coy will now have to answer to state investigators regarding Hill's death. Quinlan sought Coy's firing because he shot Hill, but also because he didn't activate his body-worn camera when he responded to the call or render aid after shooting Hill. Coy turned his camera on after the shooting, and the camera's look-back feature captured the 60 seconds prior to Coy turning it on. Known facts do not establish that this use of deadly force was objectively reasonable. You failed to de-escalate and failed to render aid, Pettis wrote in his ruling. And so the man who shot Andre Hill has been fired. You'll remember that Andre Hill was in a car. He was turning the car on and off. He had done something to try to fix the car, was turning the car on and off. The garage door was open. Somebody called the cops and said, you know, there's somebody turning the car on and off. So they come and they find him, you know, doing that. He pulls out a cell phone, holds it up, walks toward the officer. The officer kills him. And he tried to be slick about it because he didn't turn on his body camera until after he shot him, right? But the camera had a what's called a look back feature where when you turn it on, it also shows you the 60 seconds prior to when you turned it on, right? And so it showed the killing of Andre Hill, the unjust killing of Andre Hill, who was unarmed, and the man has been fired. Now, my question is this. When is he going to be charged? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you know, you can't have any job in America. That's my feeling, and that really is the spirit of the law, that nobody is above the law, right? I know Donald Trump has acted like it. I know he thinks that. We'll see what happens when he leaves office. And New York State prosecutors continue their cases against him. But nobody's above the law. And so you shot a man in cold blood. You killed him for nothing. He was unarmed. All he had was a cell phone. All he was doing was turning the car on and off. Why would you shoot him? And so I want to know, when is he going to be charged? That's all. You know, that's great. Okay, he's been fired. That's justified. That's the right thing to do. Congratulations to the city of Columbus. I think they did absolutely the right thing. Right? Kudos to them. When is he going to be charged? That's what I want to know, because if in fact we are this nation of laws, right? This is what I've heard all my life. Oh, America's a nation of laws. Okay, if we're a nation of laws, then guess what? Everybody has to be subject to those laws. If we're a nation of laws, then the laws should be applied evenly to everybody. If we're a nation of laws, doesn't matter whether you're a cop, doesn't matter whether you're a president, doesn't matter whether you're a talk show host, doesn't matter who you are. If we are a nation of laws, then guess what? The law applies to you. When is he going to be charged? I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. I'm taking bets. I want to know what you think the Senate is going to do with this whole $2,000 stimulus check thing, because it's a trap vote. I'm going to tell you why. January 5th, right? 6 days from now, there is going to be an election in Georgia that is going to decide the balance of power in the Senate. And so the House votes to say, we want $2,000 checks. The president said he want $2,000 checks. Well, that's good, because we've been said that. That's what we want too, right? So now the legislation should go to the Senate, and then the Senate has to decide whether or not they are going to go with the people, right, or with the Chamber of Commerce. They got to decide whether they're going to go with the people or go with the rich. They're going to have to decide whether they're going to go with the people or go with their traditional conservative politics that say the people shouldn't get anything, and if they do, they're begging for a handout. Meanwhile, we give Boeing millions upon millions in subsidies to develop planes. Right? So I want to know what the Senate is going to do. And I got my popcorn ready, because what the Senate does is really going to, in my view, influence what happens in Georgia. Because if people have any sense at all, and I think people still do, I do, they'll say, wait a minute, what do you mean we shouldn't get $2,000? You mean you're voting against us getting more of our money? And here's the other thing you have to understand, and we've been talking about this, the role of the taxpayer. All of the money that they're talking about is your money. That's your money that you pay in taxes. That's your money that you send to the government every single year, right, in taxes. That's the money that they take out of your paycheck before you even see it. I love the way Marvin Gaye said it. Marvin Gaye said, look, money, I make it. Before we see it, you take it. That's exactly how taxes work. They take it straight out of your paycheck, unless you're an independent contractor, and then you owe money on the back end. And so either way, they get you coming and going, right? And they act as if that's their money and not yours. I got news for you. That's your money. And so, I saw the House vote to say everybody should get $2,000. That's great, right? I want to see what the Senate is going to do, right? I mean, are Republicans actually going to stand there and say, you know what, we don't think people deserve $2,000. We think y'all deserve $600. I'm really curious as to what they're going to do, because in my view, this is a trap vote. Their president, who they followed, to their own detriment for the last 4 years, has said, look, I want the people to have $2,000 to $4,000 checks. Waited till the last minute to say it. That was a bad political move on his part, but this is a guy who just functions differently, who doesn't care about, what it does to his party, doesn't care about what it does to the people who supported him, doesn't care about what position it puts them in. He just going to say whatever comes to mind. There's no strategy. There's nothing. There's just chaos. And that's fine. Go ahead, right? So he did that. He said, I want $2,000. Something he could have said during the whole negotiation that was being done by Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin is his guy. That's your representative. All you had to do was say, Steve, look, don't accept nothing less than $2,000 for the people. But I don't think it was about getting $2,000 to the people. I think it was about setting himself up as the conquering hero. I'm going to come in at the last minute, and I'm going to save America. I'm going to save your pocketbook by saying, no, I want you to have $2,000, and they're going to bend to my will. Well, the negotiations was already done, dog. It was finished. And so you come in on the back end when everything is done. It's the end of the year. People are depending on those checks. They need them now. You come in at the last minute and say, I want to change everything. And so the House said, oh, for real? Because that's what we asked for in the first place. We're going to vote for that, and then we're going to put it on the Senate. And now the Republicans in the Senate who don't want people to have $2,000, now they have to decide which way they're going to go, and they have to decide, are you going to do it with an election at stake right now with Republicans who are vulnerable running in Georgia against Democrats that could just win? So I want to know what you think, man. What are they going to do in the Senate with that vote on that $2,000? Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. And, of course, Christmas this year, man, had a whole lot of craziness go on. You had a bombing in Nashville, man, where a guy sets off a bomb in an RV, has an electronic repeating voice saying, this vehicle is about to explode, and kills himself in the blast. And then here in Philadelphia, you have a fight in Kensington over a parking space that escalates into this street brawl where you have families going head to head outside. The police come, somebody shoots into a crowd, kills a 15-year-old, wounds a 17-year-old, and then the police shoot the alleged shooter. The family initially said, oh, he wouldn't ever do that. He wouldn't shoot his own son. That's not something that happened. But after they reviewed the body cam footage, and this is why body cam footage is so important. After they relieved that body cam footage, the sister of the man who was shot said that they wanted to take back what they had previously said about the incident, and they said that, look, the police did everything that they could. Body cam footage matters. That's why every single officer in America needs to be wearing a body cam. Because the body cam is objective, right? The body cam, it can only show you what it sees. It doesn't have any spin. It doesn't have any point of view. All it can show you is what it sees. It is the witness, right, in these incidents. And whether or not it says that the officer was right or whether it says the person was a victim, guess what? Whatever it says, it cannot lie. All it can say is what it sees. That's why every single officer should be wearing a body cam. And these two cases that we're talking about today prove that. In the first case in Philadelphia, what it proved to the family is that, you know what, the officers did all that they could. But in the second case, where it was the guy in the garage starting the car, what it proved was that the officer committed what looked like cold-blooded murder. Now, he's been fired. My question is, when is he going to be charged? But my bigger question is this. In 2021, will this be a year where every single officer in America is required to wear a body cam, and if they don't, if they turn it off, if they try to disable it, they're criminally charged? We're going to talk about it on the other side of this break. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores, 95 southbound, a little slow coming down through Bridge through the ongoing construction delays. Westbound Vine, Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, you're backed up. University through 30th, getting heavy there again through construction. Looking at New Jersey, 295 southbound, south of Route 30. Still an accident there. You're jammed Warwick Road down to Route 30. Back to Pennsylvania Turnpike westbound. You're jamming Willow Grove to Virginia Drive. An accident there, mile marker 340.4. Staples says everything you need to start the year right, like home office furniture, the latest tech and organizational supplies, all at amazing prices. And now at Staples, 2021 dated desk pads are just $3.99 off Ren's 1-2-12 while supplies last. Get big savings from Staples. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 215-782-8574. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 215-782-8574. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 215-782-8574. I'm Anthony McGlaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
PHL, don't let your guard down. This is your majority leader and Councilwoman Sherelle Parker. As the holidays approach, we've all heard the news. A vaccine for COVID-19 is coming. However, now is not the time to let your guard down. Keep wearing your mask, practice social distancing, and avoid large get-togethers. It's going to take time before we all get vaccinated. Keep yourself, your family, and community safe. We will get through this pandemic together. Stay safe, PHL. Stop the spread.
Back by popular demand. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word, and we are taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. You got two different cases, right? Both of them involve shootings. One of them shows, according to the family, that the police did all that they could. That's according to the family that reviewed the body cam footage. The other shows that an officer not only shot an unarmed person who posed no threat to him, but tried to obscure evidence of that by not turning on his body cam until after he had committed that crime, in my view. That's a crime, right? And so what he didn't know, apparently, is that the body cam records the 60 seconds before you turn it on. And so he turned it on. It recorded the 60 seconds before he turned it on, and it showed that he unjustifiably killed someone. And here's what I believe these two cases show. These two cases show that every police officer should have on a body cam, and it should be operational at all times. I think it further shows that if an officer has on a body cam and tries to disable it, turns it off, doesn't turn it on during an encounter, if he does any of those things, then he should be criminally charged. Because what that shows is that you are trying to obscure evidence from the public. And here's the other thing I need y'all to understand, that all of that stuff belongs to us as the taxpayer. The taser, the gun, the bullets, the uniform, that's your stuff. You pay for that stuff. The footage, that's your footage. You pay for that footage. They don't pull money out of their pocket and be like, all right, everybody put in $5. We going to have body cams. Nah, that's your money. That's your footage. That's your stuff. And so that stuff belongs to the public, and therefore you work for the public. We are the boss. You do what we need you to do. We need you to have that thing on, man. Because either it's going to exonerate you and show that you did nothing wrong, you did everything that you could, or it's going to show something else. And if you're trying to turn it off, if you're trying to obscure the evidence, if you're trying to keep people from seeing it, then guess what? You are trying to hide evidence from the public, evidence that belongs to us. We got to change our mindset, man. We got to stop acting like this, like this stuff belongs to somebody else. Like the government that we fund through our tax dollars, our hard work, right? That somehow they are above the law. That somehow they can take our stuff and tell us what they're going to do with it. No, that's our stuff. We have to take ownership, right, of our society that is funded by our hard work. Whether you work in a restaurant or you're a corporate executive, whether you work at the grocery store or you run a company, you know, whoever you are, guess what? You pay taxes. And so everything that belongs to the government belongs to you. That's your stuff, man. We gotta change our mindset. We really do. Because we sit here as if, oh, they doing, no, they ain't no they, is we. That's our stuff. And if we allow, you know, that stuff to be used against us, that's nobody's fault but ours. Real talk. And so we have to change our mindset, man. But, you know, for me, this illustrates what body cams do and why they are so important and why they actually matter. Because guess what? If the cop's doing the right thing, it's going to show that. Good job. Go about your business. Keep doing a good job. But if it shows something else, then it gives you the fuel that you need in order to go forward with whatever punishment is appropriate. They need to have body cams, man, and have them on at all times. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to talk about is this, man. I still want to talk about the new year because 2020 has been an ordeal. And I want to know from you, I want you to reflect on 2020. What's the best thing that happened to you in 2020? And then I want you to talk about some of the challenging things that happened to you in 2020. I want to hear about some of the best things, man. As we look back on this year, what are some of the best things that happened to you in 2020? If you want to talk about the challenges, we can talk about those as well because I think that those matter. But I think when we reflect, because, you know, Roxanne called it a dumpster fire, right? A lot of other people had some other names for 2020. But I think that when we reflect, we need to be reflecting on both the good and the bad. What good thing happened to you in 2020? And what challenging thing happened to you in 2020? I want to reflect this morning. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And let us know where you are on these various things that we are talking about on this morning's show, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in. Of course, you can also weigh in on Facebook at forward. That's FORWURD, FORWURD, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show right here on WURD Radio. What are some of the things that were good things that happened to you in 2020, and what were the things that were kind of challenging in 2020? We're reflecting this morning. I want to hear from you. Velma from New Jersey is on line one. Go ahead, Velma.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you, Solomon?
Good, and you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Good.
Yes. I can't speak about what was good or what was bad because it's going to take me like an hour to figure that out. But what I want to talk about is the money that this country has stockpiled, and that I feel as though that this country have enough, the government and our money, there's enough money for each of us to get $1 million a piece. And when you look at it, you know, how much further this country could have been if they weren't taking so much money away from us, and to know that we're in this situation, that the government didn't even let us know about this pandemic until, you know, they wanted us to know. I mean, we should have a lawsuit against the government, not just for reparations, but from which, you know, they owe us from that too. But we're, you know, the money that has been wasted with war and war upon wars, that it could have been avoided, some of them. And all of that money that was stockpiled that we could have used for our people and other people to build this country. Can you imagine what this country would have been like if we could keep some of our own money? And now in this situation, we need to go after some money. $2,000 is not no money for anybody. I mean, you're just still suffering. People are suffering. That's what I want
right
to
now,
say.
people going to get 600. So would you rather have 2,000 or 600?
Well, I would like to, at least realistically, I would like to see everybody get $100,000 at least to get started. Because this government owes us this money. They owe us, just from the idea that they didn't let us know about this virus, racism, and all the other things that happened in this country over 400 and 500 years. So, you know, the country's in a reset, and we have got to go after what we want for our people and for this country. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I think the problem with everybody getting $100,000 is that they will call that socialism, turn people against the idea of getting that money for themselves. What I've learned in these 4 years under Donald Trump is that people are easily manipulated. What I've learned in these 4 years under Donald Trump is that you have people who would rather believe lies than the truth. What I've learned under these 4 years under Donald Trump is that as long as you tell people you're better than your neighbor, they'll go along with whatever else you say. That's how racism works. Right? And so, you know, if a politician comes out in America and says everybody should get $100,000, that person will immediately be labeled a socialist, and people will stand up against that person, against their own interests, and say, yeah, everybody should get $100,000, not even me. I'm telling you, man. That's what the response would be. And so it becomes about changing our mindset and saying, wait a minute, why would I care about what label you put on something that's best for me? Why would I care about that? We have to change our mindset. And I think we are at a point where we can do that based on the experience that we've had. Because in this year, when Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and all of these black people who have died unjustly due to racist systems. When America saw that, you know what happened? Millions of people took to the streets, and guess what? Most of them didn't look like us. And so we are at a moment when I think America is waking up to some of the realities that we have seen from the time that we've arrived here. You know why? Because there's footage. That's why George Floyd was a bigger deal in terms of how people responded than Breonna Taylor, because unfortunately in Breonna Taylor's case, you had police officers who went into her house, shot her to death, but there was no footage. In George Floyd's case, we saw the footage of a police officer kneeling on his neck for almost 9 minutes. The footage made all the difference. That's why, and again, I started the show talking about body cams and talking about these two cases where in Philadelphia, you had police wearing body cams, a man allegedly shot into a crowd, allegedly killed his own son, wounded his nephew, police officers returned fire, killing him. After the family reviewed the body cam footage, they said, you know what, we want to take back everything we said, and we think the police officers did all they could do. But in another case where you had an officer turn off the body cam, right, turn it on after he thought everything was cool, like, all right, I killed him, I can say whatever I want, I'll turn on the body cam now. Nah, the body cam recorded the 60 seconds before you turn that thing on. And so now he's fired. My question is, when is he going to be charged? Those body cams matter, man. The footage matters. Seeing what happened matters. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Olanian from Nicetown is on line 2. Go ahead, Olanian.
Greetings. I liked what the woman said previously about how much money we should all get so that
I like it too.
But there's one problem. And
what is it?
I don't support this problem. But in capitalism, I know you mentioned socialism, this was what the lady sounds like. But in capitalism, we want, or they want, people to go to work. If everyone had $100,000, they'll go to California, somewhere else, go to Africa for a few weeks. They won't go to work tomorrow. They have $100,000. And that's one reason why, if you have money in a capitalistic system, you don't just give it to everybody because they're not coming back soon. So that's my response.
Okay. Now, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WRD. See, I don't think everybody would stop going to work. Some people would, right? But I think that what would happen is that people would spend the money. And that's what capitalism is about. Capitalism is about making as much money as you can, right? And in order for you to make money, people have to have money to spend. And so, you know, I'm all for everybody getting $100,000. You know what I mean? But I think that, you know, you have forces in this country who will convince people to stand up against their own interests and say, no, everybody shouldn't get $100,000. I don't care if I don't get it either. No, you dumb. We should all get it. But, you know, the problem is that people are easily manipulated. And we've seen it over and over again. You know, we've seen people vote against their own interests. We've seen people say, no, everybody shouldn't have health care. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, that's stupid. No, everybody should have health care. We would all be better off, right, if everybody had health care. But you know, you have people who are willing to vote against their own interests based on labels that other people put on stuff. Oh, it's socialism. You don't even know what socialism is, but you, because they said it was bad, you like, oh, it's so, no, I can't vote for that. Well, you know, people are easily manipulated, man. And I think that we have to begin to change our mindset. How are we going to do that in 2021? We're going to talk about it on the other side of this break. I am Solomon Jones. This is WURD Radio. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Looking at the Pennsylvania Turnpike, westbound side near Virginia Drive at mile marker 340.4. Accident there has been cleared. Schuylkill Expressway westbound, Sloan University through 30 through that construction. Southbound 95 also a little busy. Cotman down through Bridge through that work zone. In New Jersey, 295 southbound south of Route 30. An accident there still off to the shoulder. Staples has everything you need to start the year right with amazing prices on great tech. Now at Staples PC clearance event, save up to $180 on select Lenovo PCs like the Flex 2-in-1 laptop with Intel i5 processor. Offer ends at 1/2/21 while supplies last. Staples. For more traffic information, log on to SIGALert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939. This WURD Kwanzaa vignette is brought to you by Pico, Keystone Plus, and JD's Auto Body and Painting. Habari Gani from WURD Radio. The 7 days of Kwanzaa are dedicated to the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Today is the 4th day of Kwanzaa, Ujamaa, or collective economics. Let's use today to plan, build, and maintain our own businesses. As a family, seek out and support Black-owned businesses, as well as businesses that support your community. If you're a business owner, consider partnerships that you'd like to initiate or cultivate this year. The onWURD Small Business Program is a great way to immediately partner with us and market your company while planning family activities for the year. Build in opportunities for economic and financial education, as well as entrepreneurship and a plan to invest in your community. Today is a great day to start or renew your onWURD membership and continue to strengthen independent Black media. For more information about Kwanzaa, visit wordradio.com. This WURD Kwanzaa vignette was brought to you by Pico, powering communities, Keystone Plus, and JD's Auto Body and Painting for all your auto body and detailing needs during this holiday season.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065 right after we talk with Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw. They join us every week to talk about what is happening with COVID-19 and now the vaccines that have been developed around it and what it all means for our community. Doctors, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. Thanks for having us.
Yep, you're welcome. You're welcome. So I want to talk about what is happening with the numbers. You have hospitals that are beginning to be overwhelmed and personnel that are talking about being burned out because of what's happening with COVID. Dr. Wardlaw, what's happening with the numbers, with the COVID infections and the deaths that are happening as a result of it?
So the hospitals are being overwhelmed, and not only is it being overwhelmed with COVID, that means that when people are sick with COVID, they're not going to be able to get hospital beds, and it also means that people who have other emergencies, strokes, heart attacks, diabetic comas, these things, people are not going to be able to receive adequate treatment for that as well. So what we have to realize is that with the hospitals being overwhelmed, it creates a medical crisis for everyone, not just people with COVID. So this is why we need folks to take heed and realize that hospital beds are the numbers are decreasing as to availability. So we have to be on our P's and Q's as to why we need to continue to do all of the responsible things of social distancing, these small gatherings, avoiding these small family gatherings, avoiding the travel. And we've seen a lot of traveling over the holidays. And again, we should expect to see another surge on top of a surge. So again, this hospital implication with the numbers rising is a huge problem that will affect everybody, COVID related and non-COVID related.
And Solomon, if I can just add to that, you know, as a physician, you want to be able to give a patient the best possible care possible. You never want to be in a situation where you have to pick and choose who you can admit, who you can't admit, who you can provide care for, because you are just busting at the seams and you just don't have the capacity to do so. And that's what we are approaching. We were at that situation in March and April, and we're heading back to that. We don't want to be in that situation. So it is dire. We need to do something.
What's happening in terms of the black community with COVID? We found out that we were nearly 3 times as likely to die from this thing as our white counterparts in America. Where is that going? What's happening with the black community? Dr. Wardlaw, I'll start with you, and Dr. McDonald, you can also weigh in.
So, Solomon, we're still being disproportionately affected because the reasons that we were disproportionately affected to begin with this pandemic, that hasn't changed. You know, the systemic racism, you know, us being frontline workers, us being in multi-generational housing. Those things have not changed much since the pandemic started, so we are still being affected in disproportionate numbers. So we have to take that into consideration, and we also have to take into consideration that the deaths are still almost 3 times as likely. So again, this is why we are trying to change this narrative of we have to do something differently, because over the last 9 months, we have not been able to change those predisposing factors that cause us to be in this predicament to begin with.
Dr. McDonald?
We African Americans are still highly skeptical of the vaccine while we're still dying at disproportionate rates. So, you know, we're trying to get African Americans to realize that, you know, this pandemic has not gone anywhere, as Dr. Wardlaw said, in the last 10 months. So now we have to seriously consider a potentially life-saving alternative, such as the vaccine that is now going to become readily available, hopefully to everyone within the next few months.
I want to talk about a particular case. There's a woman named Dr. Susan Moore. She's 52. She lived in Indianapolis. She tested positive for COVID-19 on November 29th and was hospitalized at Indiana University Health North. And she said that her she was treated, you know, with racism, and she eventually died as a result of what happened with her. She talked about wanting to get pain relief and those sort of things, and the white doctors there didn't want to do it. Dr. McDonald, I'll start with you, and then Dr. Wardlaw. What does this case illustrate, and what do you think when you see that a fellow black woman doctor like yourselves went through this?
This case illustrates what African Americans have been saying for years. The distrust of the medical system is there for a reason. We're not making this up. And we've been talking about this. It has been magnified since COVID came out, but it's still happening every single day. As you pointed out, African American female physician was clearly discriminated against when she went in to get care for her illness. So again, it illustrates why African Americans have the feelings that they have. So it needs to be addressed. It was absolutely deplorable, her case, and I'm glad that it's getting national attention because it can happen to any of us. This implicit bias that we discussed, when we walk into the hospital, we deserve and we expect the same care as African Americans that are not African American counterparts would receive in the hospital. It needs to be recognized. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed in a timely manner, like right now. Policies and procedures need to be put in place to stop this from happening. This is an educated woman. Whether or not she's educated or not, she still didn't get the care that she deserved even when she was advocating for herself. That is a problem in itself.
Dr. Wardlaw?
I would just like to comment that for us, education doesn't matter, and many times. It has shown that, system has shown that even when all the variables are controlled for, education level, socioeconomic status level, and the best, you could be admitted to the best hospital, African Americans many times still do not receive that same standard of care. In this case, demonstrates that, and as Dr. McDonald so eloquently stated, it has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed now. And another thing that I noticed about this case is that the hospital's response was that the staff was intimidated by her. So now we have to look into this whole situation as, well, now she's considered an angry black woman. I mean,
wait a minute. Okay. So this woman is sick and literally on her deathbed, and she's intimidating them? Come on, man.
Well, exactly. It's totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable because she advocated for herself and she requested treatment that she expected and she knew that was available, and she apparently intimidated the staff. Not acceptable at all. Now, can you imagine, Solomon? This is a physician who experienced this, and there are many people who are not able to advocate for themselves, and they have to go through this same system. It has to change, and 2020 entering 2021, there's a lot of work that has to be done. The light has been shown upon it, but there has to be policy and procedure changes that are put in place. There have to be programs that are put in place to make sure that these policies and procedures are enacted upon in an efficient and effective manner, and not just talk, and make sure that these things are being done effectively.
So Dr. McDonald, I'll ask you this, and then Dr. Wardlaw. Given that we have this mistrust, and the mistrust is real, and I deal with it every day talking with our folks, and trying to make sure that they have the correct information. How do we tell people that, this disease and this vaccine that is here is actually here to help them? And how do we talk about that in our community in ways that our community will hear?
So we keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, bringing accurate information to your listeners because we need them to be informed, and bring it to them as the information changes, because this has been an evolving situation from day one. But also, the information has to come from people that they trust, because if you don't trust the messenger, you will never trust the message. And what I tell people every day is that this virus, we look at the big numbers on the screen, but each and every one of us at this point knows someone who had COVID and probably knows someone who passed away from COVID. So this disease has become very personal to each and every one of us.
Right.
So we want to now change that narrative, as Dr. Wardlaw says every week. We want to change that narrative and look at this vaccine because it is a viable option. And of course, we don't want you to take anything without knowing the information. But talk to someone who understands the information, and talk to someone who can explain the information in a language that you understand, so that you can make the best decision for yourself, your family, your friends, your community. We understand that mistrust. We are victims of that mistrust also. But we do not want history and present-day situations to potentially leave us out from a life-saving treatment to stop this pandemic.
Dr. Wardlaw?
I would like to say, Solomon, following up with Dr. McDonald, again, we have to be open to the information. Yes, it changes, and we have to be open to accurate information. But what medical establishments have to realize is that they have to have culturally sensitive physicians in our communities and in their medical facilities who understand the community that they are serving, because people are more apt to receive the information from people who look like them or people they have something in common with. And it's a challenge because as African-American females, Dr. McDonald and I only make up 2% of the physician population here in America. And African-Americans only make up 5% of the physician population. So the numbers are not on our side at this time. That's why we have to make sure that we are doing what we can to get this information out publicly so that they can see trusted messages, the community can see trusted messages, and receive information from people who they can, that they have something in common with and feel like they have their best interest at heart. Because, again, we go through the same victimization through the same system, but, again, that is a system that we have to rely upon, and we have to make sure that we work to get policy and procedure changes in place so that these things don't continue to happen.
All right. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us this morning on WURD Radio. And I do want to ask one last question. Where are we with the vaccine? Dr. Wardlaw, I'll start with you.
So with the vaccine, the Moderna vaccine has been rolled out. So now we have 2 that are available that are being given to people. The healthcare workers were in the first tier. Now they are on the second tier. And the ENTs are being, the EMTs, the police and fire departments, medics, things of that nature, teachers, they're going to be coming up in that next tier. So we are moving along to try to get the population, to get everyone who wants to get vaccinated, try to get control of this disease. I will be getting my vaccine today, Solomon. Again, okay. I think it's very important, and I will be getting my vaccine today.
Okay. All right. Dr. McDonald?
I will be getting my vaccine tomorrow.
Okay.
And as the vaccine continues to roll out, because what's important for people is people still want more information. As more and more people get vaccinated, we will have more and more data. And as we roll into 2021 and it becomes more available to the general public, please continue to look, listen, ask questions. And when it becomes available to everybody, please, please, please consider this vaccine. It is life-saving.
That is Dr. Elena McDonald, Dr. Delana Wardlaw. They are board-certified physicians, and they are twins. You can check them out on Twitter, Instagram, and anywhere on social media at Twin Sister Docs. That's Twin Sister Docs. Doctors, thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful new year.
You too, Solomon. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You too, Solomon.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk to you, 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Have you thought about your Christmas Day or New Year's Day dinner? Contact Eatable Delights Catering for one of their scrumptious packages. Call for the fire roasted chestnuts, the Natalie Cole, or the Arizona Special. They can cater for you for as little as 4 people. 215-236-3900 or stop in at 1540 Wadsworth Avenue. Order by December 21st for pickup and order for delivery by December 24th and December 25th. That's 215-236-3900.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about eating mindfully. Often we are rushing from moment to moment and we hurry through our eating like it's checking off an item on our to-do list. Each day for each meal, let's commit to doing these 3 simple things to activate our mindful eating experience. Number 1, slow down. Number 2, eat while you're sitting down. And number 3, chew each bite 20 to 30 times. You can do it. Eating mindfully is something we can all do to support our overall health and digestion. Go ahead and try it for your next meal today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at wordradio.com. Habari Gani. It's the 4th day of Kwanzaa. Today's principle is Ujamaa, or cooperative economics. So light that center red candle and stay tuned. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live on wordradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio, independent black media. You're waking up
with WURD.
Hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. How do you feel about the vaccine? Because we are trying to make sure, I am trying to make sure that I give you all of the information that I have about it. And I know that I am not a doctor. And it's interesting because a lot of people who talk about, not wanting to take the vaccine, and of course that's a personal decision. You can decide that for yourself. But a lot of people who talk about not wanting to do it talk about it based on the information that they got from people who aren't doctors, right? And I find that interesting. My spiritual leader told me not to take the vaccine. Okay, well, is he a doctor? You know what I'm like? What kind of expertise does he have in this? And I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it 100. I'm trying to be real honest. At the very least, consult somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, who actually has some expertise in this field, who actually is somebody who works on this every day, rather than somebody who's just giving you an opinion based on, whatever biases that they have. And here's the other thing that I would say. Listen to all of that, right? Listen to everything that you can. Read everything that you can. Learn for yourself if you can. Do all of that, right? But at the end of the day, you make your decision based on having as much knowledge as you can rather than making your decision based on somebody telling you something and they don't even know what they're talking about. They have no expertise in this. They might be an expert in all kinds of other stuff, might know all kinds of other stuff, but if they don't know anything about this, then why are you getting all your information about this from them? That's what I'm trying to understand. And again, you have to deal with that for yourself, measure that for yourself, decide that for yourself, but really, just take a minute to kind of check yourself and figure out, okay, is this person who I'm getting this information from, do they really know any more about this than I do? And if they don't, then maybe it would behoove you to find someone who knows more about this than you do. That's why I have the doctors on every week, man. That's why I have board-certified physicians who have been to medical school, right? Because a lot of people call themselves doctors. Did you go to medical school? You know what I mean? So that's why I have them on every week, man, because I want to make sure that my listeners, man, who I care about, that they have the right information, and then they can make whatever decision that they want to make. But I want to make sure they have information from people who know more about it than I do. I'm a writer. I'm a talk show host. I'm a journalist. I'm a father. I'm not a doctor. And so I recognize my limitations in this. But I want to make sure that you hear from people who actually have done this, who do this on a daily basis, who actually have been to school for this and are really knowledgeable about what they're talking about. Not somebody who just call himself doctor. You ain't never been to no medical school, nothing. I'm talking about actual physicians, man. And that's who, and again, you make your decision after you hear all of that. That's my goal, to make sure that I know that I've done everything I can to inform you about the things that you need to know so that you can then go about making your decisions on that. How you feel about the vaccine, man? I want to know. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. We're also talking about the new year and the past year. 2020, man, what good thing happened to you, man? Because we talk a whole lot about the bad things. We could talk about the challenges as well that you faced in 2020. But when you reflect on 2020, what are you thinking about? I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show. And 2021, what are you going to do to change your mindset in 2021? Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Let's go to Malik from Mount Airy on line 1. Go ahead, Malik.
So my stance on the vaccine is pretty much the same I've always had since, I educated myself on the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, and what happened to that doctor. Like you said, she pretty much died because they refused to give her medicine because they, quote unquote, were intimidated. That tells me that racism is still prevalent in that society. The racism is still rampant in the medical community. You want me, and I'm not saying the sister docs are not accurate with what they're telling me, but just think about, it's two of y'all versus the entire medical community. We all can't go to them. We got to go to, let's just say, our family doctor, who don't really care about us as much as they would care about us. So they might give us the information we need, they may not. So you want me to trust that they're treating me the same way as the sister docs would? I don't think so. They don't have the same passion for our people that they will. Or the doctors that set up the consortium that was giving out free COVID tests. I would trust them. But we can't all go to them. And that's where my fight is with the vaccination. We gotta weigh a lot of things that have nothing to do with just a vaccination. Are they experimenting on us again? I mean, think about that. That's one thing I think about. Are they still experimenting on it? They did it for 40 years. So
you know what? You know what's interesting to me, and I hear you, and I respect your point of view. I mean, if that's your point of view, that's your point of view. But I think that the thing that interests me is this. You listen to the show every day, right, Malik?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and my wife,
thank you.
I love her. So how you doing, buddy?
I appreciate that. So then you heard when we had the daughters of one of the victims of the Tuskegee experiments on the show, right?
Absolutely. Last week.
What did they say?
They pretty much, they still trust the medical community.
No, they didn't say that. What they said was that, yes, what happened to our father was wrong, right? And one of them was a nurse, by the way. And we want to make sure that everybody understands what happened to our father and that what happened to our father was wrong. But on this vaccine, we think that it is the right thing for us to do to take this vaccine. That's what they said. Now, we run around talk about how offended we are by the Tuskegee experiments. Here's a man's daughter who was in it, right? Who's saying, yeah, I know what happened was wrong, but we're living in now, and right now, in their view, they're going to take the vaccine. So, I mean, that's based on their real life experience with their family member. We looking at it from afar. They right there up close, And so I just think there are a lot of things, I agree with you, there are a lot of things that we need to weigh. But, saying that I don't trust my doctor as much as I trust the twin sister docs, maybe you need to get a new doctor. Real rap.
And I'm not saying, what I'm saying is okay, and we had one, but there were more than 600. So let's just say we get to speak to 30 or 50 of them. Do you think that we'll get the same results or the same? Everybody still feels as though this is the right thing to do. I mean, and I have the utmost respect for those two, that man's two daughters. Absolutely, I take nothing away from them. But you have to understand that that's 1 out of 600. And if you know enough about statistics that for a sample size, you got to have at least 30 or more.
Man, so I'm just telling you, we can't get 600 people on the show. All right, I'm just being honest with you. I'm just telling you what they said, the ones that we could get on. And you make your decision from there. But if we are dying at 3 times the rate of white people from this, then maybe we need to be doing all that we can to make sure that we don't die from this. That's all I'm saying. So, I hear you, Malik, and I want to thank you for your call, and I certainly appreciate it. But I just think we need to be doing all that we can to live. Let's go to Rebecca from Springfield on line 3. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yes, good morning. Hey, Solomon, how you doing?
Good, and you?
Listen, I plan to take the vaccine. I'm 78 years old. But guess what? People need to wake up. I'm a registered nurse. Common sense will tell you if you don't take it, you have a chance. It's your decision, but either you do or you don't. Simple as that. And to make good sense, take the vaccine. This is something that's going to help you. And all that we've heard and seen, we should know by now. You have to do something to help yourself. So that's all I have to say. Have a great day.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. 215-634-8065 is the number that you're going to call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And that's where you can get in. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. So I'm going to read some of the comments we have on Facebook because I think they're interesting. Allison B. Frazier Hayden says this: also make your doctor accountable. Ask questions and educate yourself. So I don't know what Raphael's talking about there, so I'm going to skip that. Phyllis Williams says, thanks, Solomon, for having the doctors on and caring for us. My decision has always been not to take the vaccine. It's not by listening to others. It's my personal choice. Let's see. Raphael Suleiman says this: WURD needs to get a black scientist or virologist on the air to talk about the mechanics of COVID-19 and transmission, and also someone who can really explain the history of vaccination in this country and in the black community in a detailed manner. So again, we've had on Dr. Eli Stanford. We've had on the twin doctors. We've had on the doctor from dedicated senior medical centers. Like, come on, dog, stop. Right? Lean Love says this: think and ask questions. How long does it take for a vaccine of any kind to be safe and ready for widespread distribution? It takes more than a few months, more than a year, more than a few years. So that's what Lean Love says, and that is certainly his opinion. I think that the key is this, and this is, again, what we've learned, what I've learned from having on various people, man, to talk about this thing. What I've learned is that any kind of medication that's approved by the Food and Drug Administration in America has to go through 3 stages of trials. And that in that 3rd stage, that is the human testing stage of the trials. And that in that stage, that you have 30 to 40,000 people. People talk about sample sizes and all this mess like y'all really, whatever, man. In the 3rd stage of any trial, you have 30 to 40,000 people who are tested. That's what happened with this vaccine, with both of them. It's 2 of them, right? One from Moderna and one from Pfizer. That, you had 30 to 40,000 people tested, man. You want to talk about a sample size? That's the sample size. So, either you want, and Rebecca from Springfield, the nurse, she's right. Either you're going to do it or you're not. I mean, that really is your decision. All that I can do, right? All that we can do is give you the right information, and then you you take it and you do what you have to do. You are, you're adults. You do what you have to do. But I'm going to do my job, and that is to give you the right information, right? And you're going to have certain people who are going to be like, oh, I don't believe it until you get this kind of person on, and I don't believe it until you get that. And they're going to keep moving the goalposts because they just don't believe it, and that's fine. Don't. I'm going to do what I got to do, right? For me, for my family, for my community. And if you don't want to do, that's cool. That's cool. But I can go to sleep knowing that I have given you everything that I could so that you can make an informed decision about what you need to do. 215-634-8065 is the number you can call to get in. You can also hit us on Facebook at 4WURD. That is FORWURD, FORWURD. So I say that all of that about the clinical trials, and it's interesting. One of my books, my last book, in fact, The Dead Man's Wife, is about a cure for Alzheimer's, right? And it's about the fight over that, because that would be a multi-billion-dollar cure, right? That would be something that would be worth, untold amounts of money. And so there was a murder mystery that's centered around this thing. And so in order to write that book, I had to learn a lot about how clinical trials work. And so it's not a matter of how much time the trial takes. It's a matter of how many people you have in the sample size. It's a matter of going from one phase, getting that approved, to the second phase, getting that approved, and finally to that third stage of human trials and getting those approved. When you conduct human trials and you do so without certain safeguards in place, you can have tragic circumstances, right? And so it's not about necessarily the amount of time. It's more about how many people you have in that trial. So I hope that helps. Allison B. Fraser Hayden says this: I don't trust all doctors, but I trust God. I've heard the info, and I have asthma. I get an asthma shot once a month. I've decided to get the shot. Tony Freeman says, too many people tend to believe nonsense rather than the truth. Shaking my head. Mike Christian says, you owe it to yourself to do the research on COVID-19 and ask questions, fam. And I think he's absolutely right. Rebecca Truxton says this: I plan to take the vaccine. People need to wake up. I'm a registered nurse and listen to the doctors who know about COVID. Raphael Suleiman says this: there are many white people in this country who are anti-vaxxers, anti-vaccines. Other races engage in self-study. They read, which is something that black folks don't do a lot. I think that's offensive, quite frankly, for you to say. What do you mean black folks don't read a lot? I write books, right? I am a writer. I make my living from writing, right? And black people do read. So, don't be saying that black people don't read, man. White people read and black people don't. Come on, man. What? Lean Love says this: my information comes from scientists and medical professionals who have been in the field for years, and I do not trust that vaccine. All right, well, who are your sources? Who are your people? Bring them on. We want to hear from them. Brenda Bellinger says this: thank you, WURD, for having the doctors on weekly to keep us informed. Delilah Levester says, history always repeats itself. Sad to say, we're going through the same things our grandparents went through. The tactics have just evolved. Okay. So Lean Love says he represents Minister Farrakhan. So there it is. So, all right. Well, that's fine. I think that certainly you can listen to whoever you want and believe whatever you want. All I can do, man, is give you the truth, man. You take it and do with it what you will, But we are going to continue the show on the other side of this break, and we're going to talk a little bit about some black movies with Film Gordon. His name is Tim Gordon. He is a fantastic critic. We're going to talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, as well as the new Nate Parker film that's coming out. It is executive produced by Spike Lee. And it is controversial already. I love it. Let's talk about it on the other side of this break. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report's sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. Not a bad ride here. Still here in Philadelphia, Schuylkill Expressway westbound. You're a bit busy from University through the 30th Street. A little jam there through that ongoing construction. Eastbound side, Gladwin to Belmont. Slow delays Montgomery through Girard. Westbound Vine delays Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound 95, a little busy. Cottman through Bridge again through construction. Again, Allegheny through Girard. 4255, 295. Not too bad in New Jersey. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your insurance so you only pay for what you need. Customize and save with Liberty Mutual Insurance. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
America's biopharmaceutical companies are making progress against COVID-19, now with several promising vaccine candidates in Phase 3 clinical trials. With an effort to include people from every walk of life, these trials involve tens of thousands of participants. From development to clinical trials and throughout the manufacturing process, these medicines and vaccines are rigorously tested for safety and effectiveness. Go to pharma.org/coronavirus for updates. Because science is how we get back to normal. Paid for by Pharma.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back-to-back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real
with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real.
With the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
This program is pre-recorded.
No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM. WURDradio.com.
Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. And I want to thank you for listening this morning on Wake Up with Word. We're going to switch gears and talk about some movies with Tim Gordon. He is publisher for the Film Gordon, WETA's Around Town critic, film capo of WAFCA, and host of The Big Show, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Tim, good morning. How you doing, brother?
Brother, I'm hanging in there, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm waiting for the calendar to switch to 2021, man.
Man, it's not that simple, man. But okay.
Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely.
It's not that simple, man.
You are right, because the same thing that's happening today gonna be happening tomorrow. So you're right.
Nah, brother, but I hear you. I feel you. A lot of people are in the same place, man.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this movie, man, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, with Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman. Tim, from a critic's point of view, what did you think about this film?
Man, there was a lot of anticipation, of course, around the film because, after Chadwick Boseman died in late August, You know, everybody was looking at this as the final time that you would see him on screen. And, you know, also with him doing the Five Bloods earlier this summer, you wanted to see, you know, after we understood exactly what he had gone through, we wanted to see the film to see kind of what kind of performance he would give. You know, of course, this is the second of August Wilson's Century Cycle plays that has been adapted into a film following Fences. So, you know, you had Denzel Washington involved, as you said, Viola Davis, Chad Boseman, Glenn Turnman. So you had a bunch of heavyweights that were working on this piece. And I went into it kind of anticipating, wanting to see it, but knowing that it was going to be bittersweet at the same time. And I was blown away by Chadwick Boseman's Levy. That, you know, much like if you think about Dreamgirls, where no matter what characters you have, it's always about Effie. In Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the focus is always Levy. So it becomes about that character even more so than Ma Rainey. I thought Viola Davis was great. I thought she transformed her, the hair and makeup team transformed her into Ma Rainey. So she was very effective in that role. I thought Chadwick Boseman had 2 or 3 monologues that are among some of the best things he's ever done, including the one, if you watch the film, where he talks about not being spooked by the white man. His castmates were mesmerized just as much as the audience in watching it. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is a really good film. I had it in my top 10 this year. I think Chadwick Boseman has a really good opportunity this year to win a posthumous Oscar. And I'm not sure exactly how many people have done it. I know Heath Ledger, Peter Finch for Network back in '76, Heath Ledger for The Dark Knight. So I'm not sure. So I don't want to put myself out there with a number, but it's not a long list of people who have won posthumous Oscars, man. You know, but I think Chadwick Boseman has a really good shot.
And so, you know, given that, and I saw Fences. I thought Fences was amazing, man. Saw it in the movies. Denzel just it was amazing, man. But you know, does this stand up as something comparable to that in terms of the adaptation?
Well, I think it's yes and no, and I think part of what I get, because I always tell people, and I say it not bragging, but you know, I'm an arts guy, so living in Washington D.C. Between 3 of the playhouses that we have here, I've seen all 10 of August Wilson's Century Cycle plays. You know, and when you adapt them and put them on the screen. You know, one of the reasons why Denzel Washington didn't win an Oscar 2 years ago is I remember hearing people say stuff like, well, you know, it's a play adapted to the big screen. And I'm like, word? I mean, because last time I checked, there have been tons of white plays that have been adapted that have been loved on. But, you know, so you use that as an excuse. People said that this film feels a little more feels a little more like a stage play than even Fences did. Because if you realize by watching the film, there's only really 3 sets that are in the entire film. The whole film takes place in 3 rooms. You know, the rehearsal room downstairs where the band is, the room where they're recording the album, and then there's a couple of scenes that might be out in the street. But that's it. I mean, you know, and one shot in the hotel. But the movie largely takes place in 3 locations. So for all of the people who complain about, you know, how it looks like a play, you're ignoring the fact that the greatest American playwright, August Wilson, creates these characters in these arcs for these characters that I think are absolutely brilliant. And the fact that Denzel is pledged to bring all 10 of his plays to the big screen means that we have at least 8 more August Wilson films to come over the ensuing years. So that makes me happy, but it also really makes me happy for Chadwick Boseman in this final role that I think he gave the best work of his career. And I wrote, Solomon, on the night I saw it, that if his King T'Challa in the Black Panther was his most important role, Levy and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was his best role.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm still, it stings a little bit, man, because I think the reason that it stings when I think about Chadwick Boseman being gone is that, you know, I hate to see people finally on the cusp of, yes, you know, their greatest success, and then they're gone. And so that, I think that is what makes it sting so much for me.
Well, let me just hit you with one other thing, man. Yesterday I did a show, an impromptu show, where I brought a couple of critics on, because it was Denzel Washington's 66th birthday. So we did our top 6 Denzel Washington movies. You can find it on my site, but we did the show. And in the show, we talked about how Sidney Poitier kind of passed the torch to Denzel Washington. And it looked like the person that Denzel Washington was passing the torch to was Chadwick Boseman, you know, from his work together at Howard. And then, you know, you started to see the trajectory of the roles that he was taking. And the fact that now he's gone means that we have to look around now to who's the next guy who comes with that kind of legendary career, that kind of staying power that a Poitier had, that a Denzel had. Is it Jamie Foxx? Is it Michael B. Jordan? Who is it? I mean, we don't. Who's the next guy in our community who's going to carry that torch to be the master actor for his generation? So, you know, you're right. Losing Chadwick Boseman was huge, man, for that reason, because he had established himself within 7 years as being a guy who was not just on the cusp. He was there. I mean, he was Black Panther. He's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I mean, he's just showing up. And every time he's showing up, he's giving masterful performances, one after another.
Yep. Amazing
sorry,
actor.
Man,
No, you're absolutely right, because, I mean, you know, this guy, just an amazing actor, man. And, you know, speaking of legacy in our community as far as acting, directing, producing, Spike Lee, an amazing legacy over many years of directing and now producing. He's producing a film that's written by and stars Nate Parker called American Skin. Tell us about that film.
Well, I haven't seen this film yet, and it's been out. Well, not out. It premiered probably about a year and a half ago, when Spike Lee came over. I'm not sure if it was Venice or was some film festival. But basically, it's a story written by Parker that is about him being pulled over at a traffic stop with his son. And apparently, when his son attempts to record the police, something goes wrong, and I think his son is murdered, is killed. And a year goes by, and he comes in to a police station and takes the entire police department hostage. And the jury becomes all of the prisoners that are in the jail. I will say this, man, for Nate Parker, man. Nate Parker is a guy who I think has a real social justice sort of an agenda as a filmmaker. You know, Birth of a Nation, you know, I told you the story how I was at Sundance when that film premiered, and it scared the bejesus out of folks because, you know, nobody had seen a film where the black folks fight back in slavery. And I think that contributed largely to how people came for him months later. And, you know, so I've never felt really good about how Hollywood treated Nate Parker, right? And the fact that Nate Parker now has dedicated his life, because Nate Parker had a brilliant career as an actor, man. I mean, you know, before he decided he wanted to make movies, Nate Parker had made a bunch of really good movies, had really given really great performances. People looked at him as a young Denzel Washington. I mean, the brother had skills. He threw all that away, and then when I say threw it away, he didn't throw it away, but basically pivoted in his life and said, you know what, I want to tell these stories about our people because I see the injustice, and I can do nothing but respect him for that. So American Skin is on Vertical Entertainment. It drops on MLK weekend, January the 15th. I'm not really sure exactly whether it's going to be streaming online, if they're going to try to put it in theaters, but I'm looking forward to seeing American Skin, and I'm hoping that at some point that the industry swings back around to applaud this man, because he's almost like a cinematic Colin Kaepernick to me. You know, he's a guy
Good comparison.
On the altar. And, Spike has got his back and is riding with him. And I know there are other filmmakers who have told me privately that they talk to Nate Parker a lot. But, I just have a lot of love for that brother, man. I really do.
So what are some of the hottest black movies that are going to be premiering in 2021, Tim?
Well, you got Denzel's latest film dropping at the end of January called The Little Things that features him, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto, 3 Oscar winners in the same film about these guys on the hunt for a serial killer. So that's going to be hot. Malcolm and Marie is a movie that was shot during the pandemic starring Denzel's son, John David Washington, and Zendaya that's been picked up by Netflix. You can check that out in early February. There's the Fred Hampton film that, we definitely need to talk about when that comes out, Judas and the Black Messiah, based on the true story of how his bodyguard was an FBI informant who got him assassinated. So that stars Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. And I want to come back, and we should really chop it up on that. Coming to America 2, which was moved out of Christmas this year until March 5th. I saw the trailer. I don't know about you. That trailer didn't do it for me, man. I'm hoping that film is much funnier than that trailer.
Yeah.
That trailer, I was like, I could watch the first film and see what they showed me in that trailer. But hope springs eternal, brother. And I'm trying to think, what else is out there for brothers this year? Oh, Chris Rock, later this year, is now executive producing and has written a new episode of Saw. So he's got an episode or a film called Spiral that's coming out. That's in May. And then on, man. You've got us in films all year long. And, of course, there's stuff that's going to be coming out of Sundance the end of next month. There's stuff coming out of Cannes later in May. There'll be stuff coming out in Toronto in September. So there's always going to be, in addition to what's on the release calendar, there's always going to be new stuff that's going to be added during the year. But that's the stuff I got for you right now for the audience.
Oh, man, that sounds great, man. It sounds like it's a whole lot of stuff in the pipeline. And, the Coming to America 2 thing is always a risk because Coming to America was a classic, man. That joint was hilarious. And so when you talk about trying to do another one, it's hard to kind of, I think, be up to that original standard.
Well, it's hard to go home again, Solomon. Yep. And the fact is that this might be one of those cases that it was better to let people thirst for a sequel instead of giving it to them. Because the expectations are so high. And you're right, man. Coming to America, along with Boomerang, are 2 of Eddie Murphy's most quotable films, man. Everybody remembers every line, every character. It's tough, man. And Ed is up to it. But like I said, I saw that first trailer. I was like, I'm not feeling this, bruh.
Okay.
You literally showed me that you're going to bring back all the same characters with the addition of one. I don't know, man. Like I said, I believe in Eddie Murphy. He's always been somebody who has entertained us well, but Eddie has made a lot of bad movies, man. And people don't act like we on this show. We're not, I heard you talking about keeping it real. You watched Pluto Nash. You saw Beverly Hills Cop 3. You saw, come on, you saw Golden Child. Come on, man. Murphy made a lot of bad movies back in the day, man. So hopefully, Coming to America will not be another one, but man.
So we'll see. We will absolutely see. That is Tim Gordon. He's publisher for the Film Gordon, WETA's Around Town critic, film capo of WAFCA, and host of The Big Show, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Where's your website, man, where we can check out your latest?
Man, thefilmgordon.com. You can read all of the reviews, all of the upcoming films and our most anticipated films of the year at thefilmgordon.com, man. So, check it out, man. But we'll be back because we definitely need to talk about some of the stuff that's coming out in the early spring.
All right, man. I'm looking forward to it. That's Tim Gordon. He is a fantastic black film critic. Tim, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother. You enjoy your day.
All right, you too. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to take your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update
on WURD Radio.
Good morning. Still a bit of volume on the Schuylkill Expressway this morning. Eastbound 76, Montgomery through Girard. Bit of a slow ride there. Westbound your Heavy University through 30th through construction. Westbound Vine delays Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound 95, Cotman through Bridge. A little slow through that work zone. Northbound 95 moving fine. Looking at 42, 55, 295 in New Jersey. Not too bad this morning. In the Philadelphia area, Bridge is also in pretty good shape. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Hi, I'm Council President Darrell Clark. As the holidays approach, we've all heard the news. A vaccine for COVID-19 is coming. However, now is not the time to let our guard down. As COVID-19 continues to spread, keep wearing your mask, practice social distancing, avoid large get-togethers. It will take time before we all get vaccinated. So until then, keep yourself, your family, and community safe. We will get through this pandemic together. Stay safe and stop the spread.
This WURD Kwanzaa vignette is brought to you by Temple University. Habari Gani from WURD Radio. The 7 days of Kwanzaa are dedicated to the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Today is the 4th day of Kwanzaa, Ujamaa, or collective economics. Let's use today to plan, build, and maintain our own businesses. As a family, seek out and support Black-owned businesses, as well as businesses that support your community. If you're a business owner, consider partnerships that you'd like to initiate or cultivate this year. The WURD Small Business Program is a great way to immediately partner with us and market your company while planning family activities for the year. Build in opportunities for economic and financial education, as well as entrepreneurship and a plan to invest in your community. Today is a great day to start or renew your WURD membership and continue to strengthen independent Black media. For more information about Kwanzaa, visit wordradio.com. This WURD Kwanzaa vignette was brought to you by Temple University. Temple University made major strides in HIV research, fought against COVID-19, committed $1 million to anti-racism initiatives, and more. As always, the owls shine no matter what. WURD family. Join Brother Shamari for a deep dive into the Kwanzaa season, focusing on the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Sunday, December 27th from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday and Tuesday from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. Then on Friday, January 1st from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. All week, our programs will feature conscientious contemplation, insightful inspiration, and various guests who will provide spoken word, drumming, music, affirmations, meditations, storytelling, testimony, and fellowship. That's Brother Shamari exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keep your dial locked
to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black media.
Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. And I want to welcome you back. To wake up with Word, we are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That's the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Trying to pull up our Facebook. Had a little malfunction there, so sorry about that. You can, of course, also comment on Facebook, although I can't read them right now because I can't pull them up. But you can give us a call, 215-634-8065. Always great to have Tim Gordon on. Just a fantastic film critic, and it always makes me think about, you know, some of those black film moments, man, that really are iconic. And when he talked about people knowing the lines from Coming to America and knowing the lines from Boomerang, it made me think about a topic, man, and that is, what are the great film lines that you remember, lines that really resonate for you and that you've used in your life, right? What are some of the great film lines that stand out for you, especially those from black movies, man? What are some of the great film lines that stand out for you? So give us a call. Let us know. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. I think that Tim was right when he talked about the fact that Nate Parker's film, The Birth of a Nation, scared people, and especially scared white people, because it showed black people fighting back. That's not something that you see in film, and that is why media is very important. Media helps to shape people's mindsets. Media helps to shape people's expectations, and media also reinforces people's biases, and in America's case, reinforces racism, right? And so the reason that you never see a film where you see black people fighting back is because they don't want black people getting any ideas, right? You know, the reason why you hear music that is so prevalent in talking about us harming each other is because that's okay. We can have that. If they talking about harming each other, that's fine. You know what I mean? You know, I've been going with my son, right, to the basketball court to shoot. He's working on his three, right? So I'm up there. I'm running, catching the ball for him. It's helping me. It's keeping me in shape, right? So, you know, and it's helping him, which is more important to me than keeping me in shape. But, you know, I'm going and I'm helping him, you know, with his three ball. And I'm listening to some of the music that brothers bring to the court, and I'm like, this music, it's like violent pornography. Like that's what it is, right? And so what it does is it reinforces our disrespect of our sisters, while at the same time encouraging us to harm one another. That's what it's about. I mean, you listen, and that's what it's about, right? And I came up on hip hop. My generation invented hip hop, and so when I hear that, it is both heartbreaking and illuminating for me, because what it does is that it illuminates why you have people with a mindset that is about hurting each other, right? It reinforces why you have brothers who just don't know how to respect a black woman. It reinforces why we are in the position that we are in terms of how we relate to one another. You know what I'm saying? So media matters. It is important, right? And what it does is it reinforces certain stereotypes and behaviors, but at the same time, what it does is that it encourages certain stereotypes and behavior. And so when you hear that, and you know that this is the only thing that that is played, in terms of hip hop, that nothing else can break through, that nothing else can rise to the top, that nothing else can really be seen as real. You know, that it's intentional. It's intentional, man. And so, you know, when I think about those lines in those black movies, those lines that we remember, those lines that are so iconic, man, so many of them come to mind. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Let's go to Diane from South Philly on line 1. Go ahead, Diane.
Good morning, Solomon. Fantastic
Good
interview with Tim Horton. You two guys put the icing on the cake.
Thank
I
you.
was thinking about the question that you asked about something that was said in a movie, and I had to think about Boomerang when Eddie Murphy was begging Halle Berry to come back, and it made me think about this man I was in love with. We broke up in '93, but it's a difference. You can love someone and being in love with them. Yeah. And when he said to her, "I can't breathe without you," I said, that's called chicken and potato salad love. It goes perfect together. and Solomon, guess what day it is?
What?
December 29th, Sugar Lady's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Sugar Lady.
2 years old. My bad.
Get out of here. Time flies.
Didn't it fly? You met her, she was only like 3 or 5 months old. And Queen of Waste is in love with her. I'm going to send Queen of Waste a picture of her. But Solomon, I am so blessed to be a grandmother. Once you're a grandparent, you will never be the same. And I hear you. Yeah, and I always tell Nori, I said, Nori, nobody ever loved me the way you do, and I mean that. And that's good love. Solomon, fantastic show this morning as always. And it's going to be fantastic this week because you always put the black icing on the cake. Keep it real, my brother. And I'll
thank
you. You said, hey, bye.
All right, tell Sugar Lady I said, hey, and happy birthday. 2 years old. Wow. That is, time flies, man. Time certainly does fly. Of course, Diane reminds me that tonight, Man Up PHL does its weekly mentoring session. And tonight we're going to be talking about goal setting, which is, I think, very relevant given that we're getting ready to go into the new year. A lot of people talking about New Year's resolutions. Well, there are some steps to goal setting, and we're going to be talking about that tonight, 6 p.m. On Man Up PHL's Facebook page for our mentoring session. So make sure you check that out and send some folks over to check that out as well. Bahia from West Philly is online too. Go ahead, Bahia.
Good morning, sir. And
good morning.
I just wanted to make a comment about the red thing. I listen to it. I take it as entertainment. I wouldn't let my child listen to it, but I listen to it. But back in the day, rap wasn't like that. Remember?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, what's the name of the group? I love Public Enemy. Like, once those execs got into it, it changed the whole, and money got into it, it changed the whole game up. That's what messed it up. Them white execs and that money. I think it messed it up because it was supposed to bring us together. That's what it was for. And wait on for that $2,000 people. He was playing games with y'all. Trump was straight playing games. He was trying to bring a wedge between what the Democrats and the Republicans was doing. That's all crap. When it gets to the Senate, it's going to burn. Have a good day.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Lines from movies, especially black movies, that you remember, those memorable lines. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in. You can also, of course, weigh in on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about. On this morning's show, of course, we're also talking about our top 3 stories, which are story number 1, Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner said Monday that his office is reviewing body cam footage from the 2 officers who fatally shot at Kensington man early Christmas morning. but he has asked Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw not to release the video because the investigation is not yet complete. Story number 2, the House of Representatives yesterday overrode President Trump's veto on the Defense Authorization Act and also passed a measure to increase stimulus checks for Americans under a certain income level to $2,000 after Donald Trump championed the effort, and that puts the Senate in a difficult position because the Senate is run by Republicans. Republicans don't want regular everyday people to get money, and so we will see what they do, because if they vote against it, what it says to even their own supporters is wait a minute, why you don't want us to have $2,000? Wait a minute, are you really representing us? Wait a minute, do you really care about the people? Wait a minute, should we vote for Republicans in this Georgia primary that's coming up in just a couple of days on January 5th? So I got my popcorn ready. From a political standpoint, they are in a difficult position because they have, they have really stood for people not getting money from the government, right? And it's interesting because they act like the government is giving people something when in reality, the money that funds the government is our money anyway. Yeah, all you're doing is giving us our money back. What do you mean we asking for a handout? No, we asking for a refund, bruh, of our own money. So we're gonna see what happens with that. And of course, story number 3, Adam Coy, the Columbus, Ohio police officer who shot and killed Andre Hill, has been fired, according to a statement from Columbus Public Safety Director Ned Pettis Jr. So we will see what happens with that officer who shot this man, who had nothing in his hand but a phone, was unarmed, wasn't committing any crime, because, he'd been fired. Where's the charges? That's what I want to know. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk with Roxanne Jones about her latest for CNN, making sense of our dumpster fire of a year. Roxanne Jones is on the other side. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Parents, Teachers, Guardians. 100 Black Men of Philadelphia introduces your 6th through 12th grade students to the world of finance. Come to the Young CEO Financial Empowerment Open House on January 9th, 2021. Sponsored by Wells Fargo. Discover 3 free programs where students may win monetary gifts, prizes, and scholarships. Register today at 2021youngceo.eventbrite.com or call 267-258-2900.
The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter. WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about eating mindfully. Often we are rushing from moment to moment and we hurry through our eating like it's checking off an item on our to-do list. Each day, for each meal, let's commit to doing these 3 simple things to activate our mindful eating experience. Number 1, slow down. Number 2, eat while you're sitting down. And number 3, chew each bite 20 to 30 times. You can do it. Eating mindfully is something we can all do to support our overall health and digestion. Go ahead and try it for your next meal today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at WURDradio.com. WURD family. Join Brother Shamari for a deep dive into the Kwanzaa season, focusing on the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Sunday, December 27th from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday and Tuesday from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. Then on Friday, January 1st from 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. All week, our programs will feature conscientious contemplation, insightful inspiration, and various guests who will provide spoken word, drumming, music, affirmations, meditations, storytelling, testimony, and fellowship. That's Brother Shamari exclusively on WURD Radio 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. It's the fourth day of Kwanzaa. Today's principle is Ujamaa, or cooperative economics. So light that center red candle and stay tuned. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio, independent black media. It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
This is a continuation of the mistreatment of black women in the United States. When I think of Black Lives Matter, I'm not just thinking of police brutality. I'm thinking about a whole law enforcement system screaming for reform. You can't tell me he didn't know something, and even if he didn't, he should have.
And now, Roxanne Jones, live on Wake Up with WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And joining us now is Roxanne Jones. She's a former VP at ESPN, CNN opinion writer, Emmy-nominated producer, co-author of Say It Loud, An Illustrated History of the Black Athlete, and CEO of the Push Marketing Group, a media strategy firm. Roxanne, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. It's our final show of the year of 2020.
Oh, how about that? How about
Right.
that? Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New Year in advance. I'm glad we're here.
Yeah,
Glad
me too.
we are here. Mm-hmm.
Me too. So, you wrote a piece about 2020 and all of the things that we have experienced this year, and you start out talking about how this compared to living through the pandemic of influenza in 1918 and 1919. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think, I'm not sure, I've written so many 2020 pieces for CNN over the past week. They're all running together. But what I was trying to do is look at overall, of course, I wasn't alive during influenza, right? So none of us, you weren't either.
Right.
But what I was trying to do is kind of recap the cultural shift that we've had in society, the way we relate to one another, how we are mourning collectively and individually, and some of us not at all, because we've had so many losses that we don't know. I think the way that we mourn has changed because we haven't really had time to mourn. It's a public mourning, it's a private mourning, and it's I'm still trying to survive, and so let me get through that first. So that's what I was trying to compare. And of course, influenza was a new virus. Nobody knew. There was no cure. People were afraid of it. People were ashamed to say they had it. They were ashamed when family members got it and didn't always report and go to the doctor. And so I think there are a lot of similarities. But as with influenza, we now have a vaccine. And it's not curable, but, it's something that we can protect ourselves against and prevent so many personal losses. So, and, I see this year in 2020 as the vaccine has come. And it's funny how you look back on history and all of these things repeat, right?
Yeah,
None of this stuff is new.
That's right.
Suspicion about a virus, whether it's us or new immigrants coming in, suspicion about the government, suspicion about doctors' advice, like all of this stuff. I'm not going to take it. I am going to take it. And there's almost no conversation that we're having today that has not been repeated multiple times throughout, our culture in the United States, and I'm certainly in Africa as well. When we were there, same thing. Something new happens, change happens,
people get scared. And so that, to me, was at least always gives me a little more strength that we're not making, that none of this is new in the eyes of the Creator or, in the eyes of our ancestors who have lived through this. Some of our grandparents who may still be with us or great aunts and uncles will tell you that they've been through this before.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested in the way that you wrote about it in this particular piece, because you're right. None of us were there in 1918, but you kind of looked at it through the eyes of a woman named Catherine Ann Porter, who wrote about it. And she said, it simply divided my life, cut across it like that, so that everything before that was just getting ready, and after that, I was in some strange way altered. Do you feel like we've been altered by what happened this year?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think we may not be able to identify those ways, but one of the things that I've been paying a lot of attention to is just how we grieve and how we socialize with one another, right? Even if you are one of those people who are ignoring things and still doing big gatherings for Thanksgiving or hanging out at the bar, breathing on everybody, I think that our life has been permanently changed. And I know in media, there is nobody who is living now, younger people or older people, who won't have some thought about pre-pandemic. Like now you see it all over social media, people who are celebrating Christmas or their birthdays or Kwanzaa celebrations or, just things that they did, moments in their life that were special that they shared with their loved ones or friends or, just co-workers. We're not doing those things anymore. Like, it's all nostalgic to think that we'll go back to doing those things, and I know that we will in some way, but we're still thinking pre-pandemic, this is what we did. Even when things are safe, I know folks will be washing their hands more, right? Like, we'll understand that there's a danger when you're socializing. There's stuff out there that can harm us that we might not see. Right. And so I think that mentally our minds have shifted, just as it did with influenza. Or I remember my grandfather, who went through the war, always storing tons of canned goods. Like he was so afraid that he would, one day something would happen, they wouldn't have food in the house. Stacks and stacks of canned goods. We'd go grocery shopping and he would have 2 carts of groceries. All canned goods. He wasn't buying like fresh nothing. He was like, no, we need this. This is going to,
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
like,
know. My wife is kind of like that, so I'm laughing.
No, I am too. Honestly, it's like fallout shelter mentality, right?
Yep,
Like we
yep.
might need something to survive this. He also didn't have a big trust in banks, so he always had money, not just in the cookie jar, but really under the mattress, like just in the house. Didn't and there were racial reasons for that, and that we didn't trust banks and they didn't treat us fairly. But there was also he remembered, going through a war when we were on rations and people couldn't eat, and he was actually over in Europe. So I think that there are some things, at least for me and most of the people I know, and we've lost dear loved ones in my family, and so we cannot help but be cognizant of how life was before the pandemic and the stuff that we worried about, or when we got together for Thanksgiving, or how we protected our elders, or how we checked in on people, because we know that when stuff happens to Black folks, we go through depression that we don't usually talk about publicly, and that can kill us. And so I think that's how we'll see it on the end once we get through this, vaccine and getting the vaccine. And I'm really hoping that after we get through, the trials and people getting the vaccine, that we'll do what we need to do to protect ourselves and our families. Even if we're doing it with a little bit of like, okay, I hope this really works out. This is not going to hurt me. But in the end, we want to live, right?
Yeah.
We want to live. We want to protect ourselves. I at least want to go on for the people that I love dearly that are not here anymore, that I know I need to continue for. And so that means I'm going to do whatever I need to do to protect myself and my family, keep my family strong. So, I think that psychologically we have changed. And I also think physically, we will change the way that we deal with people. Even younger people who are flaunting are socializing differently. Not just now, but we'll socialize differently. And there might be some rebellion going on, or that we always have that in a culture. That's
Sure.
allowed. But I think that this can't help but touch us. And it's the entire world. It's not just like it's the United States. It's the entire world. So I think how we work has changed. How we bank has changed, how we make doctor's appointments, and a lot of how we absorb entertainment, as you were just talking about through, the new Black films that are coming out. A lot of those things are going straight to streaming.
Yep.
Which is
absolutely.
good. Which I think is good.
Absolutely. Because
more
ain't nobody going
access
to the movies. I'm not sitting next to you in the movies. You know what I mean? That's out. That's not right now.
Right. Because here's the thing. I was already feeling some way about the movie theater because of the shootings. Like crazy white people coming in and shooting people up. And so since Aurora happened, I have always felt different in movie theaters. And that was one incident very far away from New York. So imagine, like, I'm going to a movie theater and you're going to be sitting next to me? No.
No,
that's
I don't
not
think
happening.
So the other thing that happened in 2020 was this cultural awakening, right?
Yes.
And you write about it and compare it to the Great Awakening on religion, but this was around race. And so talk about that and what happened with that and what made it different in 2020.
Well, the cultural awakening, it's funny because CNN was asking me to write throughout the pandemic and explain all of these things like Black Lives Matter and the protest and all of the things, Black people speaking out and finding our voices and voting. That I'm the only Black woman, sadly. If you look at voices, I'm the only Black woman face in their contributors roster. And so I couldn't, it was exhausting, and I couldn't really explain in a mainstream way what I felt was happening with, it's hard to say. I'm not arrogant when I say the consciousness of Black people, but since that's your role, sometimes you have to take that on. And so what I was said to them is, I feel like, because they were talking about, if you remember, words like protest and, anger, and I said, no, this is an awakening. It's a cultural awakening, and for Black folks. It is not a one incident off. It's not a protest as in you did something to me yesterday and I'm angry today. It's way bigger than that. And it touches all facets of our society and how we're viewing ourselves in the United States of America and in the world, on this planet. And we now realize, I think a lot of things came together to get us to that point. And one was the pandemic, right? And feeling so helpless and having time to being forced to be still and seeing that your government is turning a blind eye to Black people's pain and suffering in a way that we see every day, people dying by the hundreds, by the thousands, and realizing really what that means, the impact of that you can't run away from it, because now we're sitting at home and we all see this, and seeing how 45 handled that as soon as he found out more Black and brown people were dying. So that kind of woke us up. The shootings, the constant injustice with police murdering and killing us that accumulated certainly over centuries, but over the last decade, let's just say, for these, Gen X, which is us, Gen Y, older people who'd seen the civil rights movement, all of that stuff, and still having to deal with that. And some people feeling like, wow, how far have we really come? That we're going to sleep nervous about being killed in our bed, or that our children can't step outside of the door. And police and other angry white people showing such rabid racism blatantly and being encouraged by the government. So that woke us up too. It was a slap in the face. Like, at first you're feeling sad, and then you're feeling angry, then you're feeling proud seeing protesters go out and say things like Black Lives Matter and we want justice and, all of those things. But you're also like, what? This can't happen. We can't, what? Like, incredulous that we're even going through this. And then galvanized
we've had leaders, everybody talks about in the 60s, one leader, a Malcolm or a Martin or a Stokely or, Marcus Garvey. So that has passed. That time has passed. And it can't, I don't think, ever exist again because we have too many tools of communication. There's too many ways to get information. Nobody is looking for, and we realize after all this time, there is no savior coming for us. We have to save ourselves, right? Like we have the ability to do that. And so I think that all of those things are in arts and entertainment. We can look at it as we talked about Oscars So White and questioning all of the systemic racism that exists around us. We saw it in sports. We saw it in entertainment. We see it in science as even people with no kind of medical degree like myself are looking at clinical trials and talking about, like, wait now, white people, hold on, who looked like me in this study? Really being cognizant of what is happening around us in this world and why we're in this place we are in, still fighting, begging for our lives, right? Begging for some police body cam to explain why we are shot and killed. And we know that's not even a dependable system, right? Yeah. And so I think when I was talking about a cultural awakening, I meant that all of these things have intersected, all parts of our society, finance, science, entertainment, justice, the tenets of democracy as we look at voter suppression, and it's all culminated. And we had a chance to really be still because we were forced to, and it was staring us in the face. And so we either have to decide, we decided, for the most part, as we look at an election and we look at all the new voices and how strongly almost every person is talking about these issues and what we need to do to move forward, and we decided that, look, we're here, we're not going anywhere, and we're not putting up with this anymore. So we might not have found a solution, but I think that we've come into our own voices, stepped into our own power as a community. And I know there are still a lot of things we have to fix, but that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking with Roxanne Jones. She is, of course, a CNN commentator and much, much more about some of the things that happened in 2020. I want to end with two things. One is the loss of Kobe Bryant and Chadwick Boseman. I want to kind of put those together. And then the other is you wrote about Ida B. Wells this year and you standing on her shoulders. We got about 2 minutes. Let's start with Kobe and Chadwick Boseman, the two of them, young men passing this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for a lot of us, it was sad, myself included. It was sad because they were such vibrant, young, talented Black men, right? And if you talk about, I actually don't believe this. I don't believe that their deaths hurt or should be valued any more than any death in any of our families. Right. But because they're on a bigger platform and the world kind of sees it and they don't see our own loved ones, I think that it touches us in a different way, but it also connects to the other pain and losses that we felt. And so to see Kobe and how he died was a little bittersweet, with his daughter and leaving children behind. That's a story that we've encountered in our own lives, right? We don't have to know Kobe for that to touch us. And then with Chadwick, the same thing, to see him and Tim just said, kind of at the cusp of his greatest work. Yeah. You said this, I think. Mm-hmm. And then he's taken from us. And, it's sad, I guess I would say. It's sad, but I think it's sad for many reasons, not just because, Chadwick was Black Panther and, all of these other great things that many people haven't seen some of his other work, or that Kobe was a great basketball player. But I think it resonates with us because it touches our own lives. It touches losses in our own lives and things that inspire us to try to be our best, achieve our best, no matter what we're doing, delivering mail, playing basketball, being an actor, being a journalist. When we see Black folks who are doing that every day, pushing themselves to be the best they can be at what they do, then we connect with that because we all aspire to do that. And when we're falling short of doing that, we know it. We know it for ourselves. You know, I've been trying to front with other people and in the public, but we know, and you see, I think we saw such examples of that with Kobe and Chadwick, that was really part of the grieving for us and part of the personal connection. And with Ida B. Wells, that was more personal for me because when I was younger, and I think I told you this story before, I didn't know what a journalist was. I didn't know. I knew there were lots of stories around me, but I didn't know that we could use our words to kind of make change in our communities and our lives in the world. That kids don't really connect with that, and so having learned about Ida B. Wells from a Black librarian, the only Black librarian in our school system, who gave me all these books to read, really made me one, have a sense of pride and also a sense of anger at the injustices, you know, that had been going, lynchings, and how this one woman tried to take this whole system on and exposed it, this whole system of killing Black folks, the government-sanctioned murders of Black people. And my father was murdered in Philadelphia. And so my connection to her was strong, and reading what she wrote and what she had the courage to write as a young woman who faced a lot of intimidation, her house, her newspaper office being bombed out, and just people trying to kill her for what she did to snuff out her voice, gave me inspiration and strength and determination to say, I'm going to use my words too, because nobody wrote about my father being murdered. Not one person. I couldn't find anything. You still can't to this day. Nobody even went to jail. And so for me, it was a personal connection with her. And when she won the posthumous, the Pulitzer, I told that story for CNN.
Right.
And so it was just a reminder again, like Kobe and Chadwick, of pushing yourself always to do the best, to dig down deep. And as a child of God, which I know that I am, know that I can do great things. That I don't even need people co-signing, that you can just dig down like Ida B. Wells did, or Chadwick, or Kobe, and find what that special thing is in you, and nurture it and allow it to grow.
All right. That is Roxanne Jones. She's a former VP at ESPN, CNN opinion writer, Emmy-nominated producer, co-author of Say It Loud, and Illustrated History of the Black Athlete, and CEO of the Push Marketing Group, a media strategy firm. Roxanne, thanks so much.
Thank you, Solomon. Have a great end of 2020.
Okay, you too. We are going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk to you at 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939. This WURD Kwanzaa vignette is brought to you by Pico, Keystone Plus, and JD's Auto Body and Painting. Habari Gani from WURD Radio. The 7 days of Kwanzaa are dedicated to the Nguzo Saba, or the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Today is the 4th day of Kwanzaa, Ujamaa, or collective economics. Let's use today to plan, build, and maintain our own businesses. As a family, Seek out and support Black-owned businesses, as well as businesses that support your community. If you're a business owner, consider partnerships that you'd like to initiate or cultivate this year. The onWURD Small Business Program is a great way to immediately partner with us and market your company while planning family activities for the year. Build in opportunities for economic and financial education, as well as entrepreneurship and a plan to invest in your community. Today is a great day to start or renew your onWURD membership and continue to strengthen independent Black media. For more information about Kwanzaa, visit wordradio.com. This WURD Kwanzaa vignette was brought to you by Pico, Powering Communities, Keystone Plus, and JD's Auto Body and Painting for all your auto body and detailing needs during this holiday season. You're waking up
with WURD.
Hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM and 96.1 FM WURD. I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. 215-634-8065 is where you can call in. So 2020, what are the great things that have happened in 2020? What are some of the more challenging things that have happened for you in 2020? Give us a call. Let us know. 215-634-8065. Of course, we also talked about a little bit earlier some Black films that are coming out in 2021. And the question came up about some lines from movies that are just memorable lines for you, especially from Black films. So I want to hear from you about that too. What are your memorable lines from Black films? Let us know. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. We're also, of course, talking about 2021 and what you're going to do differently, right? How's your mindset going to change? How has this year influenced what you plan to do next year? Of course, we're talking about goals, and we'll be talking about that tonight, by the way, on our Man Up PHL mentoring session at 6 p.m. Goals, man, goal setting, and how you use that in order to move forward, man, and keep these streets from taking you out of here. So we'll be talking about that as well tonight at 6 p.m. on Man Up PHL. We do our mentoring online, given that COVID is happening. So we'll be doing it at our Facebook page at 6 p.m. But what are your goals? I want to talk about your goals for 2021 as well. So give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Also, of course, talking about those great lines from movies that you remember. And that you have uttered a time or two yourself. And we talked about Harlem Nights a little while ago, man, and I just keep thinking about Della Reese. And, why you gonna leave this little bit of orange juice in the container? You know, Charles, like, yo, yeah, why do you do that? People here do that. But anyway, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. So, of course, people are weighing in on Facebook, and you could do that as well at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Phyllis Williams says, my goal is to be a better me. And Walter Davis says, likewise. Gail Robinson says, beautifully spoken, Roxanne. Well done always. Happy New Year, Queen. Rebecca Truxton says, good morning, Roxanne. Happy New Year. Diane Fassett says, great words of truth, Roxanne. And what stuck with me, too, is the fact that no one is coming to rescue us but us. Great segment, Roxanne. Happy New Year in advance to you and yours. Let's see. We had, Phyllis Williams says this, Solomon, one of my favorite lines in a movie was what Oprah Winfrey said in The Color Purple. All my life I had to fight. Yeah, that's how she said it, right? So sincere and touching words, and probably her true life until God changed it. So Cinque Blue says this, memorable quote from Malcolm X. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok, led astray. Yeah, that was great. That was great. Denzel as Malcolm X. And Ralph Goldsboro says this, the news media isn't reporting that people who received the vaccine in Australia showed up HIV positive, December 11th, New York Times. So let me make a correction to that, Ralph, and it's good to hear from you. So what ended up happening was they displayed false positive test results. That's a big difference from they got HIV from the vaccine. That's not true. What is true is that they had false positive test results. I think it was a couple of people that happened to, and actually that was a different vaccine. And so you just want to make sure that you give people factual information before they think that if they take this vaccine, they're going to get HIV, right? That's not the case. So we just want to make sure that we give accurate information, right? So they took a vaccine in Australia and they came up with some false positives and they immediately pulled the vaccine. So that's what happened. Let's make sure we get that right rather than, telling people something that's not true. So let's see. Cinque Blue says this. Good morning, Word family. Damn. Of course, that's Florida Evans on Good Times. And Cinque Blue goes on to say a black doctor in Indiana cannot get proper treatment for the virus, but a Republican senator in Florida, Rick Rubio, was one of the first to get a corona shot treatment. That is very, very true. So Walter Davis says, good summary, Roxanne and Solomon, on us being altered. Hey, we could be part of a sequel in the 1981 movie called Altered States, starring William Hurt. So we want to hear from you. You can certainly give us a call at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Let's go to the phone lines and talk to Joyce from Winfield on line 1. Good morning, Joyce.
Hello, sir. Hey, everybody. Okay, hey. I say, they call me Mr. Tibbs.
Yeah. Yup. That's in the heat of the night.
That's right. The original.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way he said it. He was like, they call me Mr. Tibbs. I was like, yo.
Happy New Year, everybody.
You tell him, Sydney. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate your call this morning on WURD Radio. So if you want to get in, it is 215-634-8065. Y'all bringing back some memories, man, for me with these movie lines. So I want to hear from you, though. Give us a call and let us know, man, what your favorite movie lines are, especially from black movies and from black people in the movies. What are some of your favorite movie lines, man, the lines that kind of stick with you and that you remember throughout your whole life? So give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning's show. So Walter Davis says this on Facebook: with the movie coming to America and connecting it to today's stimulus relief check, they initially proposed $600, and Trump challenged the politicians to give us $2,000. But the line in Coming to America was Simi going to the money wiring service and the female store worker saying, while you at it, how about asking for a cool $1 million? That would be fitting and deserving for each American stimulus check. Absolutely. Yo, CK Blue said this, and this is from the movie Lean on Me. Joe Clark, played by Morgan Freeman, who said, this is not a damn democracy. We're in a state of emergency, and my word is law. There's only one boss around here, and that's me, the HNIC. I remember that clearly. And so that was just a fantastic line, man. But he had a better line in that movie. I want to know if y'all remember it. I'm not going to say it, but Morgan Freeman had a better line in that movie than that. So I want to hear from you. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. Brother Hurt from North Philly is on line 1. Good morning.
Good morning, Simon. God bless you. I got
God
two,
bless you.
Simon.
Okay.
I got one, Richard Pryor saying, I ain't running nowhere. I ain't in no track star. That was from the Mac.
Okay.
And then I got one, Jim Kelly saying, man, you came just out of comic book magazine. That's End of the Drag.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. How about Kirk from Trenton on line 2? Go ahead, Kirk.
There's some John Q, Denzel Washington, when his wife told him to do something, and he tore that damn hospital up, man. You know what I mean? We need to see more stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Kirk, for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go. Okay, let's not. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show. It's funny. I wrote a script some years ago. Actually, my wife and I co-wrote it based on one of my books, Pipe Dream. And one of the scripts that we read in order to get an idea of, you know, how script writing is done was John Q. We read that. I think we read Munster's Ball. Those were a couple of the scripts that we were given. And so, you know, John Q, very good movie with Denzel Washington. I think his son was sick in that movie. Just one of his great performances, man, over the course of a stellar career. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show. A couple of people, man, coming up with these lines on Facebook. I would love for y'all to call with the lines, but a couple of people coming up with some really great lines on Facebook as well. I'm going to get back to those, but I want to go first to Rose from Winfield on line 1. Go ahead, Rose.
Good morning, Rob. So nervous, I don't even know who I'm talking to.
Solomon.
Yes. I just want to touch on a few things real quickly.
Sure.
I heard the young man when he was talking about the movie coming out, I believe, and it's on Ma Rainey.
Yes.
And it immediately took me back to my daughter, who was in the University of Pittsburgh. I had to go and get the paper out. This paper, and you can look it up, came out in March the 22nd, 1976. She was then in the University of Penn, but she belonged to this Pittsburgh group, Pittsburgh Jazz Group. And I'm going to read one paragraph out. It says, Student Bonnie, that was her nickname. Love was featured vocalist on The Way We Were, the classic. Stormy Monday, Pittsburgh should be proud to have this shining singer. Without overdue pathos or frenzy, her performance was both belting and softly, lovely touch. Her style was as old as our modern city sensibilities in the tradition going back to great Ma Rainey. I had to go back and pull that out. And when I read that, I didn't know who Ma Rainey was. And I said, Ma Rainey, you know, thinking that was kind of insulting to my daughter, but I didn't. look it up, and I found out who she was and how she did belt out some songs. And the other thing is, she is the one I had called before. This daughter of mine that was couldn't breathe, and my daughter called the ambulance. My granddaughter did rather, and 2 white paralegals came in, and my daughter was saying she couldn't breathe. She couldn't breathe. They said if she can talk, she can breathe. And they never sat the oxygen tank in the corner. And even my great-grandson was saying she needs to breathe, give her the oxygen. So they asked for her ID. My granddaughter went upstairs to look in the pocketbook and get her ID and everything. My great-grandson still saying, my grandmom can't breathe, give her some oxygen. They didn't. Finally, and they walked her to the ambulance, and she got in the ambulance. And by the time she got to the hospital, she had passed.
They walked her? They didn't put her on a stretcher?
Nah.
Lord have mercy.
So anyway,
Lord have mercy.
She got to the hospital, and that's where she died. So my youngest daughter, who works, she's a paralegal, should be a lawyer if she knows as much about it. She's been in it all her life. But anyway, the case is ongoing, but, with everything shut down, it's kind of at a standstill now. But that every time I hear a person that passes and they're saying they can't breathe, it brings it back to me, But the other thing is...
well, we got to go to break, though.
Okay.
So we're going to go to break, and I want to thank you so much for your call, and I appreciate it. And we are, of course, praying for you and your family as well. We have to go to break. We're already over. On the other side is Keith from Wincode, V from Philly, Barbara from Overbrook. We're going to talk to all of you. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Every day, 47.9 million family caregivers perform labors of love by helping their parents and spouses. Family caregivers help their older loved ones with medications, medical care, meals, bathing, dressing, and much more. While they wouldn't have it any other way, they need some support. AARP has information and online communities to help support caregivers. Learn more at aarp.org/caregiving.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about eating mindfully. Often we are rushing from moment to moment and we hurry through our eating like it's checking off an item on our to-do list. Each day, for each meal, let's commit to doing these 3 simple things to activate our mindful eating experience. Number 1, slow down. Number 2, eat while you're sitting down. And number 3, chew each bite 20 to 30 times. You can do it. Eating mindfully is something we can all do to support our overall health and digestion. Go ahead and try it for your next meal today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at WURDradio.com.
Black lives have always mattered at WURD Radio, one of the only Black-owned talk radio stations left in the country. For the new onWURD podcast, join me, Sarah Lomax Reese, as I host a special 4-part series, 2020 in Black. From the pandemic to the global protests against systemic racism to the 2020 election, onWURD celebrates the full humanity and complexity of Black people in this pivotal year. Listen today using your favorite podcast service or visit wordradio.com/2020 in Black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in Black. Check us out.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. And joining us now, Keith from Wyncote is on line 2. Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. As usual, you're having a great show, and I'd like to commend you for the work that you've done for the black community.
Thank you, brother.
My heart goes out to the last caller. My prayers with her, and I hope they win the lawsuit. I'm calling today because of two movie slogans that have profoundly affected my life. The first one is Mahogany. The famous line, "Success is nothing unless you have someone to share it with." Tomorrow is my 2nd year anniversary with my wife. We were married New Year's Eve. And I think our relationship is the epitome of that statement. I have been able to soar so much because of my wife. And the second one is Ozzie Davis and "Do the Right Thing." Always do the right thing.
Love it, man. Thank you so much, man. And happy anniversary to you and your wife, man. I really appreciate you sharing that as well. V from Philly is on line 3. Go ahead, V.
Hi, Solomon. This is Z, like zebra. Sorry.
Oh, hey, Z.
Yeah, hi. So there's 2 lines I want to say from different movies. First, to answer your question, "Lean on Me" with Coach, with Morgan Freeman's character, is when he said, he was in the jail, and he said, "I ain't got to do nothing but be black and die."
Okay, that's one of them. That's not the one I'm thinking of, but that's one of them.
All right. And then the second quote was from Black Panther when Shuri said, "Just because a thing is good doesn't mean it can't be improved."
How about that? How about that?
Just because something works, pardon me. Just because something works doesn't mean it can't be improved.
You're right about that. You're right about that. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing those. Barbara from Overbrook is on line 4. Go ahead, Barbara.
Good morning. My favorite one is "Boys in the Hood." When Lawrence Fishburne thought he was doing so much because he was raising his son, Angela Bassett said, "You ain't did no more than what women have done for years." Case closed.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
hear you. I hear you. Love that line, too. That's a good one. Thank you, Barbara, for sharing that this morning on WURD. Some of your favorite movie lines, especially from black films. And there's one from "Lean on Me" that I'm thinking about. And nobody has said it yet. Now, some people have posted it on Facebook, but I wonder if somebody's going to call and say it. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Morgan Freeman was great in that movie, man. He had me tripping through the whole thing. I'm telling you, he was like, one of these crazy teachers, man, that really have an influence on you in your life. And so I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation. Of course, you can also hit us on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD, and let us know where you are on any of these things that we are talking about on this morning show. We got about 7 minutes left. And I started the show talking about body cameras, man, because 2 of our top stories can really concern body cameras. And it just reinforces my belief that body cameras need to be mandatory, right, on all police officers while they are working on any shift. And the stories are this one. Story number 1. Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner said Monday his office is reviewing body cam footage from the 2 officers who fatally shot a Kensington man early Christmas morning, but said he asked Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw not to release the video because the investigation is not complete. Now, initially, and here's what happened. So these families are out in the street fighting over a parking space, right? The whole thing starts over a parking space, and it just escalates. A man who had a gun fired into the crowd, apparently, and killed his own son and a 17-year-old. And the police fired back and killed him. Initially, the family said, our family member would never do that. He would never shoot his own son. And I'm sure, if he shot his son, he didn't mean to do that. But he shot into a crowd, and the result was that the son died. police shoot back at him. The family initially said, oh, he would never do that. The police are lying. Then they saw the body cam footage and they said, we want to take back what we said originally. The police did all they could. Right? And that's because they saw the body cam footage. Now, the other story is about a man who was killed by a police officer in Columbus, Ohio. His name was Andre Hill. Now, the police officer that shot him was named Adam Coy. Adam Coy gets a call about a man who's in a garage. He keeps starting the car and turning it off, right? So he goes and confronts the man who, pulls out his cell phone and begins walking toward the officer with his cell phone. And Adam Coy, the police officer, shoots him dead. And then turned on his body cam, right? What he didn't know was that the body cam records the 60 seconds before you turn it on. And so when authorities viewed that footage, they fired him, not only for trying to conceal what he'd done by not turning on his body cam, but also for not rendering aid to the man as he lay there dying. And so, either way, sometimes it's going to prove that the police officers did the right thing. And sometimes it's going to prove that they didn't. But that body cam footage is an impartial witness. Because the body cam footage can't lie. The body cam footage is not going to say, oh, well, I did this and I did it, and this is the reason. And no, it shows what happened. And so that body cam footage, unedited, unaltered, right, has to be shown when we have these cases, man, because either it's going to show that they did the right thing or they did the wrong thing. But either way, it is the witness that we need when these things happen. So I want to know what you think about that. And, of course, also the other story we're talking about is that the House of Representatives. So first they overrode the president's veto on the Defense Authorization Act, right, which funds the military. Your kids that are in the military, their paycheck won't come if that is not authorized, right? And so they first overrode the president's veto on that. And then they voted to increase stimulus checks for Americans to $2,000 after President Trump said, yeah, they should be $2,000. House Democrats was like, yeah, we agree. That's what we wanted in the first place. But your people said, nah, we don't want them to have that much. We only want them to have 600. So now it goes to the Senate. And it's interesting because the Senate is going to have to decide, do they want to go with the people or do they want to go with the politics, right? How are you going to tell your own supporters, we think you should only have $600, not $2,000? You know what I mean? So they're going to be in a tough spot because January 5th, the balance of power in the Senate is going to be decided, right? You've got two Democrats down there, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, who are running for office. And, the balance of power is going to be decided. So y'all can vote that people shouldn't have money if you want to, but you might be paying for that January 5th at the polls. Darcel from Philly is on line one. Go ahead, Darcel.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Yep. What you got? You're breaking up, Darcel. I can't hear you now. Try it again. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't hear you. Breaking up a lot. I can't hear you. We got about 2 minutes. If you want to call back, you can certainly give it a try. Let's go to Dave from Bluebell on line 3. Go ahead, Dave.
Morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
How you been?
Good. How are you?
Good. Uptown Saturday night, they were in the office of Congressman of the Congressman Rock Lee Brown. And he said, you got to rid yourself of those linguistic shackles. And the other part where he said, we've been robbed. And he says, don't tell me not about brothers. How long? How long? Why do we do this to one another? And it reminded me of the city council of Philadelphia.
I hear you, man. I want to thank you for that. That's good. We appreciate it. We're going to try to go back to Darcel. Is Darcel still on the line? Darcel.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it again. Go ahead.
All right. What's success without the one you love? Lady sing the blues.
Lady sings the blues. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Darcel. We appreciate that, and thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. We certainly appreciate it, and thank you for sharing it this morning on WURD. So we got a couple of lines from folks on Facebook. Somebody has, man, it's so much. Okay, so Walter Davis got the line that I was thinking about, the one from Lean On Me, where Morgan Freeman says, they used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they call me Batman. That is the line. That is the line. That is the line right there. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in on today's show, including all of our guests, Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw, film critic Tim Gordon, and of course, CNN commentator Roxanne Jones. And I want to thank each and every one of you. And now for producer Jordan Mathis producer Jordan sitting in for Kawesa Mathis and everyone here at WURD Radio. I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying stay tuned for Reality Check with Charles Ellison, and tune in tomorrow at 7 for more Wake Up with Word. Peace.